What is the best way and method to heat a reptile? Ceramic heat mirrors, heat mats, and reptile radiators are the most popular and commonly used heating equipment to heat reptiles, although they are not quite adequate or sufficient in heating reptiles as we expect them to. So my question, what is the overall best reptile heating equipment to use to heat a reptile and its enclosure? This video deeply goes into details of different types of reptile heating equipment and which is overall best to heat a reptile and its enclosure. First and foremost, we must understand what is heat. You may remember from my last video, or know that heat, or thermal radiation as I like to call it, is any combination of the wavelengths found and given by the sun from 295 nanometers to 3000 nanometers. UVB being 295 nanometers to 350 nanometers, UVA being 350 nanometers to 400 nanometers, and visible light being 400 nanometers to 700 nanometers, and infrared being 700 nanometers to 3000 nanometers. But how much of each electromagnetic wavelength does the sun provide us with on Earth, and how much of each electromagnetic wavelength should we be providing our reptiles with? Unfortunately, to the date of recording this video, we can't measure all of the electromagnetic wavelengths in units that easily due to technology needed for this being not discovered yet. Although we can estimate the energy output of each electromagnetic wavelength given by the sun to give us an idea of how much of each electromagnetic wavelength we should be providing for reptiles, and which heat source is best to use for our reptiles. The quantities of the electromagnetic wavelengths that the sun provides are 32% infrared A, 14% infrared B, 2% infrared C, 8% ultraviolet, and 44% visible light. Infrared A and infrared B, alongside the other electromagnetic wavelengths, are produced during the day by the sun. Rocks and wood found in nature then absorb these infrared wavelengths through the day until there is a natural balance of energy being absorbed and released back out into the environment through convection. The energy being released is the longest wavelength, infrared C. This results in higher ambient temperatures throughout the day and into the night. This may or may not explain the differences in the different infrared wavelengths. The nice tingly feeling you get when you're outside is infrared A and a bit of infrared B, deeply penetrating to your skin and muscle tissue. Then the nice warm feeling of when you sit near a radio or fire is the long wavelength infrared C. So what is the best heating equipment that we can use in a reptile's enclosures to help replicate this infrared day-night cycle? Different reptile heating equipment produce different energy outputs of infrared, so you have to find a heat source that gives the best energy output and the most electromagnetic wavelengths possible. First we will look at the most commonly used reptile heating equipment: heat mats, ceramic heat mirrors, and reptile radiators. All of these reptile heating equipment are the best producers of the long wavelength infrared C, and are most commonly used to heat snakes and leopard geckos. These types of reptile heating equipment provide limited surface temperature and ambient temperatures, with only providing 1% of infrared B and 99% of infrared C. They give off no visible light or infrared A, making these types of reptile heating equipment inadequate or insufficient for daytime heating, as they heat a reptile via convection like the infrared cycle, although in an unnatural way. Although they could be used at night for higher ambient temperatures if absolutely needed, but I'd highly recommend using heat mats or ceramic heat mirrors at night, as reptiles need a good temperature drop at night. Next we look at carbon filament lamps, but specifically at the DP projector. DP projectors give off 8% infrared A, 48% infrared B, and 44% infrared C, with infrared B and C nearly having the same energy output as each other. DP projectors are better for more sufficient ambient and surface temperatures, and deeply penetrate heat into the skin and muscle tissue of a reptile, making them a better option compared to heat mats and ceramic heat mirrors. DP projectors can also be used at night for higher ambient temperatures if needed, but cannot be used as a primary or sole heat source for a reptile. Last but not least, we look at the best heat source for a reptile: a halogen heat lamp or tungsten incandescent lamp. Halogen heat lamps give off 38% infrared A, 39% infrared B, and 12% infrared C. Halogen heat lamps deeply penetrate heat through the skin and muscle tissue, thus being the best heat source for the natural infrared cycle like I talked about at the beginning of the video. This makes halogen heat lamps the very best heat source for a reptile, although they can't be used at night, but can be used as a primary or sole heat source for a reptile. To further the efficiency of the heat output of a halogen heat lamp, You can provide state for your reptile to bask on, which will contribute and allow the infrared cycle to occur. Short wavelength infrared A and infrared B will be absorbed by the slate and then will be released as long wavelength infrared C through convection, which is a natural way to achieve higher ambient temperatures rather than using a heat mat, thermal heat mirror, or a DP projector. So that's it for this video. So I hope you now know what's the best reptile heating equipment, what's the best way to use or method. What's the best method or way to use that you have to for the best to the best of your ability to make sure your reptile has the most of the heat bulb or heat source that you're using. So if you enjoyed the video too, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to get notifications when I post next video. See you next video. Bye guys.